The Galactic Assembly Hall was the largest room had ever seen. It stretched upward like a great bowl turned on its side, with seats carved into every surface. Thousands of aliens sat in those seats, beings of every shape and color. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some looked like nothing could describe with words. They all watched the center platform where the speaker stood. Was only 26 years old. She was a junior, the lowest rank in the human diplomatic service. Her job was to watch, learn, and stay quiet. She stood at the back of the human observation area with Ho, the security officer assigned to protect their small group. The humans were not allowed on the main floor. They watched from a balcony high above, like visitors at a zoo, had always found this strange. Earth was a founding member of the Galactic Union. 200 years ago, humans had helped create this very assembly. Yet here they stood, separated from everyone else. Ho leaned close to her. He was tall and serious, with sharp eyes that never stopped moving. His job was protection, but knew he was also curious about everything. "You see that seat?" he whispered. He pointed toward the center of the hall. Looked, among the hundreds of filled seats, one stood empty. It was beautiful, made of dark metal with silver patterns carved into its surface. It looked important. It looked like it belonged to someone powerful. "That is Earth's seat," Ho said. "It has been empty for 200 years. Felt confusion rise in her chest. "Why? We are a founding member. We helped build the Union." Ho shook his head slowly. "No one knows. Every time Earth asks for voting rights, the request is, they give no reason. They just say no." Down below, the speaker called the session to order. Ambassador was a creature from the collective. He had 4 arms and eyes that reflected light like polished stones. His voice buzzed through the translation devices everyone wore. "The Assembly will now discuss the Hegemony Expansion Act," announced. Had read about this bill. It would give certain powerful species the right to expand their territory. It would also give them authority over worlds they considered unstable or dangerous. Earth was on the list of potentially unstable worlds. The debate began. Species spoke for and against the act. Some wanted power, others wanted peace. But no human voice joined the discussion. They had no vote, they had no seat, they could only watch. Felt anger building inside her. This was wrong. Earth had millions of people who would be affected by this decision. They deserved a voice. Before she could stop herself, stood up. She walked to the edge of the balcony and spoke loudly. "I request speaking rights for the human delegation." The chamber fell silent. Every eye, every sensor, every strange alien organ turned toward her. Felt her heart beating fast, but she did not sit down. Ambassador looked up at her. His insect face showed no emotion, but his 4 hands gripped the podium tightly. "The request is," he said, "Protocol 7. "What is Protocol 7? Demanded. Did not answer. He simply turned back to the assembly and continued the session as if she had not spoken. Ho pulled back gently. "Careful," he whispered. "You will get us removed." Sat down, but her mind was racing. Protocol 7. No one had ever explained it to her. No one in the diplomatic service seemed to know what it meant. The session continued for 3 more hours. When it finally ended, the delegates began to leave. Watched them go, feeling small and powerless. Then she noticed an old alien approaching their balcony. He moved slowly, his body bent with age. His skin was gray and wrinkled, covered in soft fur. He belonged to the species, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. The old alien climbed the stairs with difficulty. When he reached, he looked at her with sad eyes. "You are brave," he said. His voice was soft and tired. "But you should not want that seat, child." Frowned. "Why not? It belongs to Earth." The old looked around carefully, making sure no one else could hear. Then he leaned close to. "The galaxy prays you never learn why it remains empty," he whispered. "Some secrets are kept not to harm, but to protect. Be grateful for your ignorance." Before could respond, The old alien turned and walked away. He disappeared into the crowd of departing delegates. Ho watched him go. What was that about? Did not answer. Her mind was working, trying to understand. The old had been afraid, not afraid of her, but afraid for her. What could possibly be so terrible about an empty seat? That night could not sleep. She sat in her small room on the station, staring at her computer screen. She had spent hours searching through public records, trying to find any mention of Protocol 7. There was nothing. Then she tried a different approach. She searched for the founding documents of the Galactic Union. Most of them were available to anyone, but one file caught her attention. It was labeled simply, Humanity Founding Restriction Order. The file was encrypted. It required high-level clearance to access. Did not have that clearance. She was just a junior, the lowest of the low. But she knew someone who might be able to help. She sent a message to Ho. Meet me in the archives, I found something. 20 minutes later, they stood together in the dark hallway outside the assembly archives. The station was quiet at this hour. Most aliens were sleeping or resting in whatever way their species required. Ho looked at with concern. This could end your career. I know, said. It could also get us arrested. I know that too. Ho was quiet for a moment, then he smiled slightly. Good, I was getting bored anyway. They moved toward the archive door. Did not know what she would find inside. She did not know if the truth would help or hurt, but she knew one thing for certain. Earth deserved to know why its seat was empty, and she was going to find out. The archive door was locked with a genetic scanner. Only authorized personnel could enter. Was not authorized. Neither was Ho. But Ho had been a security officer for 8 years. He knew how systems worked. He knew how they failed. He pulled a small device from his pocket and held it against the scanner. The device hummed quietly. After 30 seconds, the door clicked open. Old model, Ho explained. They should have upgraded years ago. They slipped inside. The archive was dark and cold, filled with rows of data storage units that stretched from floor to ceiling. Blue lights blinked softly in the darkness, showing that the systems were active. Moved toward the nearest terminal. She typed in her search, Humanity Founding Restriction Order. The screen flashed red, Access DENIED. I expected that, she muttered. She tried several bypass codes she had learned during her training. None of them worked. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. You will not find what you seek that way. And Ho spun around. Ho's hand moved to his weapon, but he did not draw it. An old alien stepped forward into the dim light. He was tall and thin, with scales that had faded to a dull green color. His eyes were yellow with vertical pupils like a snake. He wore the robes of an archivist. Ho said quietly. He recognized the alien. Everyone in diplomatic circles knew. He was ancient, possibly the oldest living member of his species. He had served as archivist for over 300 years. Looked at them without anger. If anything, he seemed tired. I have been expecting you, he said. Not you specifically, but someone like you, a human who asks questions. They come every few decades, most turn back, some disappear. Felt cold fear in her stomach. Disappear. Nodded slowly. There are those who wish to keep this secret forever. They call themselves the Silence. They have killed 14 humans over the centuries. All of them got too close to the truth. Ho stepped forward. Are you one of them? No, said. I am simply old, old enough to be tired of lies, old enough to think that perhaps the secret has been kept too long. He looked directly at. You want to know why Earth has no seat? I will tell you, but you must understand something first. This restriction was not placed as punishment. Then why? Asked. Protection, said. Not for you, for everyone else. He gestured for them to follow. They walked deeper into the archive, past rows of ancient data crystals and storage units. Finally, stopped at a small viewing room. He activated a holographic display. 200 years ago, he began, when humanity first made contact with the galaxy, we were curious about your species. You were different from others we had encountered. You were violent, yes, but also creative. Fearful, but also brave. We did not understand you. The hologram showed images from that time. Human diplomats meeting with alien scientists, tests being conducted, data being collected. We performed standard evaluations on your representatives, continued. Biological scans, psychological assessments. One of those representatives was a woman named One. She was a doctor and a diplomat, very intelligent, very calm. Watched as the hologram showed a young Korean woman sitting in a medical chamber. Sensors were attached to her head. Alien scientists watched screens filled with data. During the assessment, something unusual happened, said. One was asked to think about her home, about Earth, about her people. When she did, her neural patterns changed. The display showed a graph. Brain waves moved in steady patterns at first. Then suddenly they shifted. New frequencies appeared. The waves became stronger, more complex. What happened? Asked. Yellow eyes were serious. She began to synchronize. Her brain started connecting to something larger, something we did not understand at first. He changed the display. Now it showed a map of Earth, covered in tiny points of light. Those lights represent human neural activity, explained. When one focused on her people, her mind began reaching out to them, not consciously. It was automatic, like breathing. For a brief moment, she was connected to every human on Earth. Felt her mouth go dry. That is impossible. We thought so too, said. But our instruments do not lie. Humans evolved on a world with many dangers. Your species developed an unusual survival mechanism. When threatened, when truly desperate, your minds can link together. Not like telepathy, more like a shared feeling, a collective will. Ho shook his head. I have never felt anything like that. Because it is dormant, said. It activates only under extreme circumstances, extreme stress, extreme need. Your species does not even know it exists. He paused. But we knew, and we were afraid. He changed the display again. Now it showed the assembly hall. The assembly uses psionic consensus technology, said. When votes are cast, the system amplifies the will of each representative. It is designed to create fair outcomes based on the true desires of each species. Began to understand, and if a human sat in the seat, the system would connect to them, confirmed, and through them to all of humanity. One human channeling the will of billions. They would not just have a vote, they would have every vote. One human could override the entire assembly. The room was silent, felt the weight of this knowledge pressing down on her. You could control everything, Ho said softly. Shook his head. No, you would not control the assembly, you would become the assembly. Every decision, every law, every choice would flow through one human mind. It would be absolute power. And that is why the seat is empty, said. They are afraid of us. Terrified, corrected. For 200 years, the galaxy has been terrified of what humanity could become. So they made rules, Protocol 7, the founding restriction order. They told themselves it was for safety. Perhaps it was, but it was also control. Keep the humans weak, keep them voiceless, never let them know what they could do. Thought about everything she had just learned. Her whole life she had wondered why humans were treated differently. Now she knew. The galaxy did not hate humanity. They feared them. What happens now? She asked. Before could answer, an alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed throughout the archive. His face went pale. They know you are here. The silence. You must leave now. Ho grabbed his arm. We need to go. But hesitated. What about you? The old archivist smiled sadly. I have lived long enough. The truth needed to be told. What you do with it is your choice. He pushed a small data crystal into her hand. Everything is on this. Proof, records, everything. Now go. The sound of running footsteps echoed in the halls outside. and Ho ran. Behind them, the archive doors burst open. Masked figures in black poured into the room. Stood calmly watching them go. He did not try to escape. He simply waited. The last thing saw before turning a corner was the old reptilian archivist, standing alone in the dim light, facing the enemies he had. Then he was gone, and ran faster. The lower levels of Centrum Prime were a maze. Pipes ran along the walls like metal veins. Steam hissed from broken vents. The lights flickered and died in some sections, leaving only darkness. Ran through this maze with Ho close behind her. She could hear their pursuers in the distance, boots on metal floors, voices calling to each other. They were getting closer. "This way," Ho said. He pulled her into a narrow passage between two large machines. The space was barely wide enough for them to squeeze through. They waited, holding their breath. Footsteps passed by the entrance. Shadows moved across the opening. Then the sounds faded as the pursuers moved on. "We cannot keep running," whispered. "They will find us eventually." Ho nodded. "We need to reach the human section. Security there is ours. They cannot touch us." They began moving again, more carefully now. Ho knew the station layout from his security training. He led them through maintenance tunnels and service corridors, avoiding the main passages where enemies might wait. They came to a junction where 4 tunnels met. Ho checked each direction before choosing one. But as they entered the tunnel, 3 masked figures stepped out of the shadows ahead. His heart froze. They were trapped. Then gunfire erupted from behind the masked figures. 2 of them fell immediately. The third turned to face this new threat, but a precise shot dropped him before he could raise his weapon. A woman stepped over the bodies. She was Korean, with short black hair and a face that showed no emotion. She held a pistol in each hand, still smoking. "Come with me," she said, "now." "Did not move. Who are you?" "My name is Hana. I am from Earth Intelligence. I have been watching you since you arrived on this station." She holstered one pistol and gestured impatiently. "We have about 2 minutes before more of them arrive. You can ask questions later or you can die here. Choose." Ho made the decision for both of them. He grabbed his hand and followed Hana deeper into the tunnels. Hana moved fast. She knew exactly where she was going. Within minutes, they reached a hidden door that looked like part of the wall. Hana pressed her hand against it, and it slid open to reveal a small room filled with screens and equipment. "Safe room," Hana explained as the door closed behind them. "Shielded against all scanners. They cannot find us here." Finally let herself breathe. "You said you are from Earth Intelligence. What does that mean?" Hana sat down at a console and began typing. "It means the human government is not as blind as everyone thinks. We have known about the restriction for decades. We have known about our potential." "Then why has no one done anything?" demanded. "Because the moment we reveal that we know, everything changes. The galaxy is afraid of us. If they discover that we understand our own power, they might decide we are too dangerous to exist." Hana's eyes were cold and serious. "Earth has been playing a very careful game. We act weak. We act harmless. We let them think they have won." Ho leaned against the wall. "But you have been preparing." Hana nodded. "For the day when we might need to use our ability. Yes, we have studied it, tested it in controlled environments." Remembered what it said about the synchronization. If a human sat in the assembly seat and activated this ability, they could control every vote, Hana finished. "Yes, but that is not the problem." She turned to face directly. "The problem is what it does to the human who tries." "What do you mean?" Hana was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. 5 years ago, we ran an experiment. A volunteer agreed to attempt synchronization under controlled conditions. We connected her to a small device that mimicked the psionic amplification system. She was young, healthy, and mentally strong. Hana paused. She felt the emotions of 8 billion people at once. Every fear, every hope, every moment of joy and suffering, all of it flooding into one mind. Felt sick, what happened to her? She survived for 37 seconds, Hana said simply. Then her heart stopped. We managed to revive her, but she was never the same. She cannot speak anymore. She just sits and stares at nothing. Hana looked at the floor. She was my sister. The room was silent, did not know what to say. Finally, she asked the question that had been forming in her mind. Why are you telling me all this? Hana stood and walked to one of the screens. She pulled up an image of the assembly hall. Tomorrow, the Hegemony Expansion Act will be voted on. If it passes, certain species will gain the legal right to pacify worlds they consider unstable. Earth is on their list. She turned to, without a vote, we cannot stop it. Earth will be vulnerable. They could send ships, soldiers, weapons. They could take control of our planet in the name of peace. Ho stepped forward. You want someone to take the seat? I was prepared to do it myself, Hana said. I have been training for years, but the psychological profiles we gathered showed something unexpected. She looked at. Your empathic capacity is stronger than mine, stronger than anyone we have ever tested. If anyone can survive the synchronization, it might be you. Felt the world tilting around her. You want me to risk dying to cast a single vote? I want to give you a choice, Hana said. Walk away and Earth faces whatever comes. Sit in the seat and you might save billions of people. Or you might die in 37 seconds like my sister almost did. She shook her head. It is not fair, it is not right, but it is real. Thought about everything she had learned in the past few hours. The empty seat, the secret, the fear of an entire galaxy, and now this choice placed in front of her like a blade. There must be another way, she said. There is not, Hana replied. We have spent decades looking. This is the only option. Ho put his hand on shoulder. Whatever you decide, I will stand with you. Looked at both of them. Hana, who had lost her sister to this nightmare and was still willing to fight. Ho, who had followed her into danger without question. And somewhere far away, billions of people on Earth who had no idea that their fate rested on one woman's choice. When is the vote? Asked. 14 hours, Hana said. Nodded slowly. Then I need time to think. Hana accepted this. You have until morning, but understand this. Once you walk into that chamber, there is no going back. The silence will try to kill you. The assembly will try to stop you. And if you sit in that seat, you will feel things no human was ever meant to feel. Closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw the empty chair, waiting for someone brave enough or foolish enough to claim it. I understand, she said quietly. But she was not sure she did. She was not sure anyone could. Found a quiet corner in the safe room. She sat on the cold floor with her back against the wall, staring at nothing. Her mind would not stop moving. Thoughts crashed against each other like waves in a storm. She had never wanted to be important. She had joined the diplomatic service because she believed in peace. She believed that different species could learn to understand each other. She had imagined a quiet career, attending meetings, writing reports, slowly helping to build bridges between worlds. Now she was being asked to do something impossible. Ho sat down beside her. He did not speak at first. He just sat there, a solid presence in the darkness. I used to think my father was a fool, he said finally. Looked at him. She had never heard him talk about his family before. He was a security officer on Mars colony, Ho continued. During the riots, when everything fell apart, he had a chance to escape, get on a shuttle, leave the civilians behind. Many officers did exactly that. What did he do? Ho's jaw tightened. He stayed. He organized evacuations. He protected people until the last shuttle was away. He was killed 15 minutes before rescue arrived. I am sorry, said softly. I was angry at him for years, Ho admitted. I thought he threw his life away for nothing. What difference did one man make? The colony still fell, people still died. He looked at with serious eyes. But then I grew up, and I understood something. The people he saved went on to have children. Those children had children. Thousands of people exist today because my father made a choice. Understood what he was saying. Some choices define entire futures. Yes, Ho stood up. I cannot tell you what to do, but I know you. I have watched you since we arrived on the station. You asked questions when everyone told you to stay quiet. You demanded answers when everyone said to accept what was given. That takes courage. He offered her his hand. Whatever you decide, I believe in you. Took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. Thank you, Ho. Hana approached them. She was holding a small device that looked like a headband made of metal and wires. Neural dampener, she explained. If you decide to take the seat, this might help you survive longer. It limits the intensity of the psionic connection. She hesitated. But it also weakens the synchronization. Full power means near certain death. Reduced power means you might live, but the effect might not be strong enough to matter. Took the device and turned it over in her hands. A tool that could save her life but might make her sacrifice meaningless. I need to make a call, she said. Is there a way to reach Earth from here? Hana nodded. Quantum communication terminal in the next room. It is secure. Walked to the terminal alone. She sat in front of the screen and entered a familiar contact code. The connection took several minutes to establish across the vast distance. Then her sister's face appeared on the screen. Bai was younger than by 4 years. She had the same dark eyes, the same gentle smile. She was sitting in their mother's kitchen back in Seoul. Sunlight came through the window behind her. Bai's face lit up with joy. I was not expecting to hear from you. Is everything okay? Smiled, trying to keep her voice steady. Everything is fine. I just wanted to talk to you. Bai frowned slightly. She knew her sister well. You look tired. Are they working you too hard on that station? A little, admitted, but I am managing. They talked about small things. Bai's job at the hospital, their mother's health, a childhood friend who was getting married, normal things, safe things. Listened to her sister's voice and tried to memorize every word. She watched the way Bai laughed, the way she pushed hair from her face, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled. Bai said suddenly, "Something is wrong, tell me." Felt tears threatening to form. "Nothing is wrong, little sister. I just miss you. I miss home." Bai was quiet for a moment. "Are you in danger?" Could not lie, not completely. "There is something I have to do, something difficult, but it is the right thing." "Then do it," Bai said firmly. "You always do the right thing, even when it scares you. That is why I have always looked up to you." The tears came now, could not stop them. "I love you, Bai." "I love you too." Bai's own eyes were wet. "Come home soon, okay?" "I will try." Ended the call. She sat alone in the dark room for a long time, letting the tears fall. When she returned to the main room, Hana was waiting. The intelligence agent's expression was difficult to read. "I was supposed to be the one," Hana said quietly. "I trained for years. I watched my sister suffer, and still I prepared to face the same fate. When I learned about you, about your empathic capacity, I was relieved. I told myself it was because you had a better chance of success." She looked away. "But the truth is, I was glad someone else might carry the burden instead of me." "Understood. You do not have to apologize for wanting to live." "I should be the one in that seat," Hana said, "not you." "But I am the one who can survive it," replied. "Maybe, we do not know for certain." Hana reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. "I have to tell you something. If you take the seat, I will activate this remotely. It is connected to the neural dampener. It will reduce the synchronization enough to give you a chance." Felt sudden anger. "You said full power was needed." "I know what I said." Hana's voice was firm. "I also know that I will not watch another person die if I can prevent it. You may hate me for it. The effect may be weaker, but you will be alive." Before could respond, a soft alarm chimed. Hana checked her screen. "Morning," she announced. The assembly session begins in 2 hours. Ho gathered his equipment. He looked ready for war. Looked at the neural dampener in her hands. She thought about Bai. She thought about Earth. She thought about 8 billion people who would never know what she was about to do for them. She put the dampener on her head. "Let us go," she said. They left the safe room and began walking toward the assembly hall. The corridors were busier now. Aliens of every species moved toward the great chamber for the important vote. As they walked, noticed something strange. Humans were appearing from side corridors. Technicians, maintenance workers, visitors, all of them following the same path. They did not seem to know why. They just walked, drawn by something they could not explain. By the time they reached the assembly hall entrance, there were over 100 humans behind them, all silent, all watching with expressions of confusion and wonder. Ho looked at the crowd. "They can feel it," he said quietly. "They can feel that something important is happening." Turned to face them. These were her people, workers and dreamers, soldiers and scientists. None of them knew what was about to happen, but they had come anyway. "Stay outside the chamber," she told them. "No matter what happens, do not follow me inside." She did not know if they understood. She did not know if they would listen. But she could not wait any longer. The doors of the assembly hall stood before her. Behind those doors was an empty seat that had waited 200 years for someone to claim it. Took a breath, and she walked inside. The assembly hall was full. 847 species sat in their designated seats, waiting for the vote that would reshape galactic politics. The air hummed with tension and anticipation. Walked through the main entrance and down the central aisle. Every step echoed in the sudden silence. Thousands of eyes turned toward her. Alien faces showed confusion, surprise, and growing alarm. Ambassador stood at the speaker's podium. His insect eyes reflected the chamber lights as he watched the young human woman approach. "This area is restricted to voting delegates," he announced. "You must return to the observation level." Did not stop. She kept walking, moving past rows of seated aliens who leaned away from her as if she carried a disease. Security called, "Remove the human." Guards moved to intercept her. Ho stepped forward, ready to fight, but there were too many of them. Then raised one of his 4 hands. The guards stopped. The old stared at for a long moment. Something passed across his alien face. Recognition, perhaps, or acceptance. "Let her pass," he said quietly. The guards looked confused, but they obeyed. They stepped aside. Continued forward until she stood at the base of the central platform. The empty seat was above her, beautiful and terrible in its waiting silence. "Ambassador," she said, her voice carrying through the chamber, "I am of Earth. I am here to claim my planet's seat in this assembly." Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded she be arrested. Others called for the session to be ended. The noise was overwhelming. But simply looked at her with ancient, tired eyes. "For 200 years we have kept this seat empty," he said. "We told ourselves it was necessary. We told ourselves we were protecting the galaxy." He made a strange clicking sound that might have been a sigh. "We were protecting ourselves from our own fear." He gestured toward the seat. "The restriction was wrong from the beginning. I am tired of living with this lie." He looked out at the assembly. "Let her try. Let us finally see what happens." No one moved to stop her as climbed the steps. Her legs felt weak. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her chest, but she kept climbing. The seat was made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Silver patterns ran across its surface like frozen lightning. As approached, she could feel something emanating from it. A hum. A presence. She turned and looked out at the assembly. Hundreds of alien faces stared back at her. Some showed fear. Some showed hatred. A few showed something that might have been hope. Sat down. The psionic amplification system activated instantly. She felt it connect to her mind like a key turning in a lock. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the connection opened fully. Gasped, it was not pain, it was not pleasure, it was something beyond either. She felt herself expanding, spreading outward like a drop of water falling into an infinite ocean. She touched minds, millions of them, billions, every human on Earth, on Mars, on the colonies and stations scattered across the galaxy. They were all there, not as voices but as feelings, pure, raw emotion flowing through her like an endless river. A mother holding her newborn child, joy. A soldier saying goodbye to his family, fear. Children laughing in a schoolyard, hope. An old woman taking her final breath, peace. All of it, everything humans were, everything they felt, everything they feared and loved and dreamed. It all flowed through in a single overwhelming moment. She heard herself scream, or maybe it was billions of voices screaming together. The assembly watched in terror as the voting matrix went wild. Numbers and values flickered and changed. The entire system struggled to process what was happening. Was drowning. There was too much, too many feelings, too many lives. She was losing herself in the flood. Then she felt something change. Somewhere far away, Hana activated the neural dampener. The flood did not stop, but it slowed. The overwhelming tsunami became a powerful but survivable current, could breathe again, she could think. She looked out at the assembly with eyes that held the reflection of billions of souls. "Why are you afraid of us?" she asked. Her voice was not just her own. It carried harmonics, echoes of countless others. It filled the chamber like music. The aliens stared at her. None of them could speak. "We never wanted to conquer you," continued. "We never wanted to control your governments or steal your resources. We just wanted to belong. We wanted to be part of something greater than ourselves." She felt tears running down her face, but they were not just her tears. They were the tears of every human who had ever felt alone in the universe. "You kept us out because you were afraid of what we might become, but you never asked what we actually wanted to be." She looked at Ambassador. "We wanted to be your friends, your partners, your family." The word family rippled through the chamber. Every delegate felt something they had never experienced before. They felt what humans felt, the deep, desperate longing for connection, the need to belong, the hope that somewhere in the vast darkness there were others who would accept them. For one moment, the galaxy understood humanity. Felt her body failing, her heart stuttered, her vision blurred. The synchronization was burning through her despite the dampener. But she held on for one more moment. "The Hegemony Expansion Act," she said. "Earth casts its vote, no." Her voice registered in the system. A single vote against the bill, a vote that carried the weight of billions. Then fell. Hana rushed forward from where she had been watching. Ho was right behind her. They caught before she hit the ground. "Pulse is weak," Hana reported, checking her scanner. "We need medical attention now." The assembly remained frozen. No one moved, no one spoke. Then Ambassador stepped down from his podium. He walked toward where lay unconscious and looked down at her with something that might have been respect. "The vote is recorded," he announced. "Earth's delegate has cast a valid vote. The Hegemony Expansion Act fails." Slowly, one by one, the delegates began to stir. Something had changed. They could all feel it. The fear that had defined their relationship with humanity for 2 centuries had cracked. Some still felt afraid, but many felt something new: curiosity, wonder, shame for what they had done. Was carried out of the chamber on a medical stretcher. Ho walked beside her, holding her hand. She survived. The dampener had saved her life. She woke 3 days later in a human medical facility, weak but whole. 6 months passed. Returned to the assembly hall on a bright morning when the station's artificial sun filled the chamber with golden light. She walked down the central aisle again, but this time no one tried to stop her. Instead, delegates nodded to her as she passed. Some even smiled. She climbed the steps to Earth's seat, but now it was not a forbidden throne. It was simply a chair, waiting for its rightful occupant. Sat down. The psionic system hummed gently, but she did not activate it. She did not need to. Earth had a voice now, a normal voice just like every other species. Ambassador called the session to order. Today we welcome Earth's permanent representative to the Galactic Assembly, he announced. Ambassador. Applause filled the chamber, not from everyone but from enough. Things would not change overnight. There would still be fear, still be suspicion, but the door was open now. Looked out at the assembly. Somewhere in the sea of alien faces, she saw Ho standing at attention in the security section. He smiled at her. Hana was somewhere in the shadows, still watching, still protecting. She had visited in the hospital and said nothing. She did not need to. They both understood. And far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, Bai was watching the broadcast with tears in her eyes. Took a breath. The galaxy learned something important 6 months ago, she said. The most terrifying thing about humanity was never our potential for power. It was our capacity to feel everything and still choose compassion. She looked at the seat beneath her, the seat that had been empty for so long. This seat does not belong to me, she continued. It belongs to every human who ever looked at the stars and wondered if they were alone. It belongs to every person who dared to hope that the universe might have room for them. She smiled. We are here now, and we are not going anywhere. The session began. Earth finally had its voice. And the galaxy was never quite the same again.